Hey guys, Minishcap1 here. Honestly, this game was a bit of a shit show from both sides, so there's not a whole lot of value in showing the entire 38-minute game. However, there are three important gameplay concepts that I demonstrated in this game that I wanted to illustrate and share. 1. Recovering from playing a poor early game through the use of effective roaming, ganking with righteous glory, making picks, and the application of pressure. 2. How to teamfight in the mid-game and late game as Singed. And 3. The importance of staying mentally focused in rage-inducing games. I'm also going to explain the laning phase versus the top lane Rengar. For runes, I'm running 9 armor reds, 9 scaling health yellows, 9 AP blues, and 3 movement speed quints. For masteries, I have 12-0-18, with my keystone being Courage of the Colossus. So I start the game off with a standard level 1 proxy. The method I use to level 1 proxy is to take the first wave between the tier 3 and 2 towers to avoid getting harassed, the second wave in between tier 1 and 2 to have more space and conserve HP, and the third wave back behind tier 3 and 2 in order to execute safely while placing the ward in the bush. The general laning phase versus Rengar for Singed seems simple on the surface, but can be deceptively difficult to manage. Generally, you want to stay away from the bushes in the side of the lane, since he wants to use those and abuse his mobility to make short, fast trades that Singed has a hard time keeping up with. Singed is at a trading disadvantage until levels 5 and 6 because his abilities won't do enough damage in those short trades until that point. The key to minimizing his leap trades is to push the wave into his tower and then drag the incoming creep wave down, away from the side bushes, as I show here. Using a triple Dark Seal build, I lane normally until 6 minutes and 19 seconds, at which point I take a favorable fight, which I think I can turn into a tower dive. Sadly, that's not the case. Rengar ends up being too slippery and I take one too many tower shots, which leads into him finishing me with his ult and Hecarim being assassinated by Kha'Zix after he came to help. During the game, I thought for sure that I would be able to dive Kha'Zix if Hecarim helped me, and I was pretty angry that he backed off, but after watching the replay, it's pretty obvious that I was in the wrong here. And that's another reason why I think uploading videos like this is fun, because it helps me become a better player by identifying and analyzing my mistakes. After my death happens, I know that I'm at a disadvantage, and solo killing Rengar will be a lot harder. However, in situations like this, as Singed, when you are behind, you still have a few options that you can use in order to have a good game impact. You can keep your lane pushed in and look for plays by roaming properly, finishing Righteous Glory, and ganking and making picks. At 10 minutes, I use the Blast Flower to go over the Baron Pit Wall, which Rengar doesn't expect, since he's assuming that I'm going to be roaming mid through his jungle to gank, which is why he overextends into the river. As soon as I see him overextended, TF begins to ping him, signaling his intention to ult, and Hecarim follows up with me, while I tank the turret and allow them both to finish off Rengar. By leaving lane and mind-gaming Rengar, I made him unknowingly walk into a bad position, which resulted in his death and the tower for his blood for my team. At 14:10, I noticed that the enemy team is pretty heavily overextended, so I use my teleport in order to cut them off and flank. I move forward on Janna with my ult and ghost running, but Kha'Zix jumps into my team to do some damage. He gets killed quickly as I fling her, but then soon after, Twitch opens up on my team and forces us all back. It's apparent that I'm going to be kited really hard if I try to keep pushing forward, so we back off. However, Jhin opens up with his ult after we leave their vision range. I should have taken Thresh's lantern to help me get closer, but I made the mistake of not paying attention to it. Thresh gets a great hook on Lux and we secure the kill. Rengar and Twitch walk back into the fight to try and save their tower, and we make short work of them, even though Rengar canceled our CC. Then we take the turret. Using teleport like this to pressure the enemy team to make bad plays can result in good fights. I finish RG after that team fight, and I go to farm the stacked top wave. I don't want to overextend and die to Kha'Zix and Rengar, so instead I decide to run down through their jungle, at which point Kha'Zix jumps on me and chunks me, forces my ult and backs off. After this, I ran mid and got a good pick on Lux, but Hecarim charges in with his ult and gets killed by Twitch. Rengar and Kha'Zix jump into the fight and wipe my team. If Hecarim was playing more carefully in the situation, it would have been a positive fight overall, but I still made a good pick for my team. At 20 minutes, I notice the enemy team seems to be grouping in mid, so I rotate down. Jhin opens up with his ult and begins to slow them, and Thresh gets a good box, which allows me to run in with ult, ghost, and Righteous Glory and get a good fling on Jaina, cancelling her ult. Afterwards, me and Hecarim dive their squishy backline and kill them, while my backline take care of Kha'Zix. At 22 minutes, I notice that Hecarim seems to be trying to start a fight with the enemy team. I teleport mid and try to get engaged in the team fight. Through the fog of war, I see Lux's ult and prismatic barrier skill shots, so I know she is close behind the fog. The fling on Kha'Zix was poor, and in the wrong direction, so I have to chase him to get the kill. As I turn the corner, I use my awareness that Lux is nearby to predictably dodge her binding and secure the kill on Kha'Zix. Afterwards, I start pushing the mid tower with my team and walk behind it to zone the enemy out, dodging another binding. Rengar overextends yet again, fails his empowered W, and we fling him into CC and kill him yet again. Afterwards, we get Baron. At 24 minutes, we get a pick on Twitch and start to siege the bot tower. My team doesn't come with me to rotate and take the mid turret, a decision that I made because the creep wave was much larger, so Rengar and Kha'Zix engage on them. I run back down and fling Kha'Zix, and we clean him up, then we siege and take 2 inhibitors. At 26:40, we begin to group to siege the final inhibitor in top lane. At this point, the game becomes a huge clan fiesta. Jhin walks into probably the worst spot on the map for him to be in, gets caught and dies instantly. The proper decision was to walk around and come to us from behind instead of taking the risky route and dying. We end up getting kited out and losing 3 members for 0, and they managed to hold. At 28:45, we begin another siege attempt. I use my Righteous Glory very early in the fight on a target which was close to me, which was a mistake. I should have saved it to penetrate the back line in the second half of the fight. I overextend because I see Twitch get CC'd and caught by Lux and die under the tower. At 30:25, my team gets 2 picks on Rengar and Kha'Zix, so we go for the push. Games like this can become very tilting very fast when your AD carry positions poorly during what should be an easy siege, and you lose fights that you should win. Jhin gets chunked really hard by Lux E, she pops Thresh with her ult, and Jhin gets sniped by Twitch. Hecarim and I get the kill on Lux and force Twitch to recall and take mid inhibitor. We should have backed off at this point, but we both go for the second inhibitor and die. I want to talk about mental clarity in games like this. It can be hard to stay calm and focused and make the right decisions when things like this happen. I try to emotionally disconnect from the game and just look at it from a purely analytical standpoint to try and win, but even then it can still get very frustrating. This is just something that I think has to be learned, and it's very hard to teach since it's such a personal concept that every single individual player is going to react to and learn differently from the other person. I spawn at 32-35 and immediately teleport top to try and cut off the enemy team. I notice that my ult is down, so I back off. When my ult comes up, I re-engage on Kha'Zix and begin to duel him, eventually flinging him out of the Janna ultimate and killing him. Sadly, Jhin ends up walking into a Lux binding immediately after we get the pick and dying, stopping our push once again as me and Hecarim get killed. At 34-35, I see Kha'Zix overextended and fling him out of his jump, picking him off once again at the start of the fight. I skirt around the outer edge of the front line to wait for my cooldowns and get a really good 3-man slow on Twitch, Lux, and Rengar. Sadly, Rengar gets away, avoids us with his ult, and quickly kills our backline as Twitch opens up. I get a really clutch Courage of the Colossus shield, and Twitch dies from a combination of Poison, Thornmail, and Hecarim. I recall to try and get another Elixir of Iron. Once my teammates spawn, we take Baron at 36-40. I go around the back to try and zone the enemy team if they show up. Kha'Zix ends up being in the bush, which I didn't know, but he decides to not go for the steal since I'm close enough to fling him away. I then push up in with my team and zone Twitch and Lux out of the fight while we push the inhibitor so we can finally end the game. I hope this video was helpful in illustrating how to come back from a lost lane and helped in understanding how to play some tilter team fights. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content, and I'll see you guys next time.